Good morning. We're going to be reading out of 1 Samuel this morning, and the scene is Israel has chosen a king, Saul, and he was head and shoulders taller than everybody else and good looking, but his heart was wrong, and he rejected God, and so God has rejected him. And God sent Samuel to appoint a new king. He sent him to Jesse in Bethlehem and had his sons come by. And verse 6 says, when they entered, he looked at Eliab, and he thought, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature. And all I can say is hallelujah, because I came up short on both of them. The Lord says, do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For God sees not as man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
Let's pray. Father God, we just come before you right now to just praise you and thank you. Thank you for this day. Father, I hope what you just heard is just what you want to hear, Father. Our intent was to just lift you up and give you praise and honor and glory, for you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And we just came here to worship you this morning, Father. That was our intent. I hope that was what we gave you. Father, I just pray you just be the rest of this service. Just open up our eyes, our ears, and our hearts. Father, give us exactly what we need to get through next week, and I just thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad you are here. Nice to have Skip. He looks good. He's had some major stuff go on in his life. He's, as far as we know, cancer-free. Is that right? So that's the praise the Lord there. Call it coincidence, call it accident, I call it God. So I'm thankful for Skip, and I'm thankful he's feeling better, and I'm thankful that he is cancer-free right now. We're going to take just a minute. I'm going to let you guys get up and visit for just a minute, and then we're going to get started. Before we do, let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I know, and I believe that you're the same yesterday, today, tomorrow. You were a healer yesterday, you will be a healer today, and you will be a healer tomorrow. Physically, spiritually, emotionally, you heal. And we thank you so much for that. We thank you for a good report from Skip. That's just a tremendous blessing. We also pray for the Moore family. We would like to say we're going to pray for John and Kay, but John doesn't, he's perfectly fine right where he's at. And dear Lord, he is in the exact place that he has been making reservations for 80 years. And dear Lord, we just thank you for being able to be a part of his life and him being a part of ours. We pray a special prayer for Kay and the entire family, just a peace and rest and wisdom and guidance through some times of difficulties. But dear, I also pray for these people, and for those who are not here, I lift them up, and I pray a lot of laughter and smiles wherever they may be. Dear Lord, we just thank you, and we just praise your precious holy name. Amen. All right, let's take a minute, greet your neighbor, take their hand, hug their neck, and we'll get started just a little bit. Good morning, everybody. If you want to know kind of where we're headed, it'll be a little bit before we get there. But our scripture is in Nehemiah chapter 9, so you can be looking for that in just a minute. Before we start, I'm going to read a little something. In 1776, America's delegates voted to accept the Declaration of Independence to proclaim America's independence from Great Britain. It kind of reads like this. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assure or assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitles them. We hold that truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among though which among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And as the members of the Continental Congress was signing the copy of the Declaration of Independence, Samuel Adams declared, "We have this day restored the sovereign to whom all men ought to be obedient. He reigns in heaven, and from the rising to the setting of the sun, let his kingdom come." Well, it's happy, I guess, 2 days before the 4th of July. So that's, I guess we're still 2 days away. So I'm happy that it's the 4th of July, and it's, it's Independence Day, and it's Freedom Day, and it's Liberty Day, and this week, in a couple of days, we will celebrate the freedom of our nation, which is a tremendous and wonderful thing. We're going to celebrate the freedom and the liberty of our nation, and yet many of us, we don't live free. We're slaves. At least we live like it. We are bound. We are chained. We celebrate this week and Tuesday, we celebrate Tuesday as if we're free. And I guess as society, as just in general, we are free. Yet I would suspect, and it's just in my own thinking, and I would suspect that many of those, and maybe many of us that are shooting off fireworks and are roasting marshmallows or hot dogs over the campfire, I would assume and suspect that many of us who will be doing the same thing, we are showing outward expressions and signs that we are free. We're doing all the stuff, we're shooting off the bottle rockets, and we're doing all this stuff, and we're showing signs that we're free, but I would suspect that there may be some of us, maybe one of us here, or two, or maybe three, or maybe even more, that we're going to show signs of being free, but we're not really free. We live in chains. We're bound. And of course, and I don't mean any disrespect, I love our freedom. And I love our nation. And I love the men and women who have fought and died and gave everything they have for that. But we gather here this morning, and I hate to say this, not to so much or only to celebrate our nation, but to worship a Savior. A Savior who has indeed set us free. A Savior who has indeed set us free from the most terrible bondage possible. The bondage of sin and its penalty, which is death. But even as we proclaim and celebrate our freedom and the one who sets us free, there is an enemy who has set his mind to make sure that we don't enjoy that. He is setting traps to enslave us. If you have fought battle after battle to try to free yourself from the shackles of guilt or the shackles of shame, then maybe today would be a good day. If you've tried and you've tried and you've tried, maybe even younger kids may understand this more than anybody. If you've tried to measure up and you just can't measure up, and you carry that burden, you carry that shame, or you carry that guilt, you're not free. You're chained. Well, maybe today would be a good day. Maybe if you're a man or a woman and you've never been or never felt like that you're the man that you have been called to be, that God has called you to be, or you're not the woman that God has called you to be, and you carry that burden. You carry that shame. You carry that guilt. Well, Paul's words to the Galatians are meant for all those who continue to kind of plod along in those chains. We just kind of continue to walk along, dragging those chains. who have been searching for high, searching all the low spots, all the high spots for this path to freedom. We're just trudging along, plodding along, and we're searching for this path to freedom. Well, Paul wrote in Galatians 5:1, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery." Let me tell you, there is a struggle for freedom that is taking place, that is affecting the lives of every man, of every woman, of every young boy, of every young girl. And there is a cry for freedom. I don't care where you live. There is this cry for freedom that rings out of human hearts all across this world, all across the planet. There's this cry. If you will just listen quietly, if you will just open, maybe close everything down and just listen quietly, you can hear that cry for freedom, Even across the plains of Africa, you can hear those cries. If you just listen for just a moment, you can hear those cries for freedom in the outbacks of Australia. You can hear those cries. If you will just close your thoughts or all your stuff and just be quiet for just a little bit and listen. Throughout the jungles of Africa, you can hear those cries for freedom. There are some being cried. Through the deserts in the Middle East, from the mountains, and in the cities of America, you can hear those cries for freedom from people who are not free. And yet, even as we cry for the freedom rings, there are those many voices urging us down these dead-end roads that will never take us to freedom. It is never going to be the freedom that God has intended it to be. And the battles I'm speaking of, these fights that I'm speaking of, has never got one moment's notice on CNN. It's not got an ounce of coverage from the Fox News Network. This battle that we are fighting, we celebrate our freedom, but are we really free? They're not covering it. They're not talking about the cries of people who need to be set free. The war that has taken a greater toll upon lives across this world, you could combine all the wars together. And this has taken a greater toll on the people of this place than all those combined. It's not been mentioned by Peter Jennings. It's not been mentioned by Tom Brokaw. It's not been mentioned by Dan Rather. You don't hear about this battle. And the battle that I'm referring to is not being waged in the desert. Right here, in our hearts. The battle for freedom is taking place right here in this very sanctuary this morning. And maybe I pray that by the end of this morning that the Lord will reveal those things to us. He will show us the path of freedom. He will show us that, we're free as a nation, but personally, do you enjoy freedom? Our nation is free. But are you? When it comes to freedom, and this is just for me in general, and everybody will be different. I need liberation. I may shoot a bottle rocket off or a firecracker or whatever, and I may celebrate our nation's liberation. But me in general, I need freedom. I need liberation, and I have had that, but sometimes I don't live like it. But one of the greatest things that maybe I deal with, that I find myself chained, that I find myself imprisoned with, or I find myself standing behind walls, is this thing that I carry around that's called guilt. And then maybe I'm the only one that ever has to deal with guilt. But there is pain that's associated with that. And I stand behind those walls, or I stand in chains, or I drag these things around, these burdens of guilt and these pains. I can't imagine how many people I talk to. I can't even count, probably, how many people carry around things from their past. The mistakes that they've made, burdens that they are carrying. We are free in Jesus, but we carry these burdens. We shouldn't, but we do. Heaviness over broken relationships. You can't imagine how many people struggle with that. Marriages going bad. Failed marriages. Grief over our children. I feel so guilty here. Maybe I didn't do all I should have done as a parent, and I feel guilty, and I'm carrying that guilt. I'm not free. That's not freedom. There's people right here among us that we're going to celebrate Tuesday, but we're not free. We're carrying those burdens. We're imprisoned by those hurts. We're in chains by those pains. We have those guilts. We have those sorrows. We're not free. And despite the fact that Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you are weary and heavy laden," or all you are burdened. If you're burdened, He says, "Come to me." We will hear that, and we know that Scripture. He said, "I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." We know that Scripture. We know it, we know it, we know it. If you've got burdens, come to me and give them to me, and yet we want to carry them around. Because we don't know what freedom is. Despite the fact that Jesus says this, we continue to drag around our burdens. We continue to drag around our failures. We continue to drag around our guilt. We stand behind those prison walls. In Psalm 62, it says, "My soul finds rest. My soul finds rest in God alone." I can just come to believe that. I could just come to understand that. If I could just come to know it and receive it, why can't we? And God alone says, "My salvation comes from Him. He alone is my rock. And He alone is my salvation. He alone is my fortress. I will never be shaken." And you read in Psalm 71, it says, "Though you have made me see troubles, many and bitter." There's a lot of stuff going on. "You will restore my life again. Come from the depths of this earth, you will again bring me up. You will increase my honor and comfort me once again." Restoration is possible. Forgiveness is available, right? We agree forgiveness is it's taking place. All we got to do is just accept it, right? It's available. Our freedom is just a moment away. No matter what we have done or what we are dealing with, the evil we have done, maybe the sins, no matter what mistakes we have made, despite our failures, we can still enjoy our success. We can still enjoy that. Despite our bondage, we can have freedom. We just got to receive it. One of Jerry Falwell's sayings is this: "You don't determine a man's greatness by his talents or wealth like the world does, but by what it takes to discourage him." So this is why I ask this question. Are we really going to allow the things of this world, good or bad, to determine for us what becomes of us? Are you going to allow, you don't have to, am I going to allow this world to determine who I am? Are we really that susceptible to throwing in the towel that easily? Have you ever said, "I deserve this"? This bondage that I struggle with, I deserve it. these chains that are wrapped around my ankles and are wrapped around my hands, I deserve it. These burdens that I bear on my back, I deserve every one of them. I deserve it. This guilt that I carry, it's my own fault. I deserve it. In spite of all that we have learned about God's plan for our lives and His love for us, why are we so gullible to quitting so soon? Why would we? This is a pretty good question. Why would we choose slavery over freedom? Why would we do that? When we've been given freedom, why would we choose to be slaves? Why would we choose to be in bondage? Why would we choose to stand behind prison doors when we've been given the combination? Why would we do that? Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous, and do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. God's given us. He's loosened the chains. Everything that oppresses us, everything that eats at us, He is taking care of that. We just got to let go of it. We serve a mighty and powerful God. I'll just tell you. Who overcomes all things. Part of that song that we sang earlier, and that they played when we was greeting. It says He is a prison-shaking Savior. That's what He is. Those things, those walls you stand behind, those chains that bind your feet and your hands, He is a prison-shaking Savior. If we want to be free, we can be. In Luke 1:37, it says, for nothing is impossible with God. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you're dealing with. Nothing is impossible with God. Jeremiah 32 says, oh, sovereign Lord, you have made the heavens and the earth by your great power and outstretched arm. Nothing is too hard for you. And in Job, which is a book that it says this, for His eyes are on the ways of man, and He sees all his steps. He does not take His eyes off the righteous. What an awesome God. To know that nothing is too hard or nothing is too impossible for Him. And that He is always watching for us. Sometimes we feel like I have messed up so bad that God has just left. I've done so much, that I'm struggling with so much, good or bad, that I'm struggling with, that God is just gone. Well, Nehemiah chapter 9, starting in verse 9, we're going to read through 21. It says this, Nehemiah 9, verse 9. You saw the suffering of our forefathers in Egypt. You heard their cry at the Red Sea. You sent miraculous signs and wonders against Pharaoh. You remember this. You remember this story. Against all of his officials and all the people of his land. For you knew how arrogantly the Egyptians treated him. You made a name for yourself, which remains to this day. You divided the sea before them, so that they passed through it on dry ground. But you hurled their pursuers into the depths like the stone and into mighty waters. By day you led them by a pillar of cloud, and by night with a pillar of fire to give them light on the way they were to take. Verse 13. You come down on Mount Sinai. You spoke to them from heaven. You gave them regulations and laws that are just and right, and decrees and commands that are good. You made known to them your holy Sabbath and gave them commands, the decrees and laws through your servant Moses. In their hunger you gave them bread from heaven, and in their thirst you brought them water from the rock. You told them to go in and take possession of the land you had sworn with uplifted hands to give them. And it changes. Man, you've done all this stuff for them. You've just been amazing. You've been incredible. You've done all this. It's just incredible what you've done. And in verse 16 it says, but they, our forefathers, they became arrogant. became stiff-necked and did not obey your commands. They refused to listen and failed to remember the miracles you performed among them. They became stiff-necked and in their rebellion appointed a leader in order to return to their slavery. But you're a forgiving God, gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in love. And then it starts some stuff that it just kind of makes me feel good. They did all this stuff. You showed them all this stuff. Yet our forefathers turned their backs on us, and yet here you are. It says, therefore you didn't desert them. Even when they cast for themselves an image of a calf and said, this is your God who brought you up out of Egypt, or when they committed awful blasphemies. Verse 19 and 20 are pretty amazing to me. Because of your great compassion, you didn't abandon them in the desert. By day, the pillar of cloud did not cease to guide them on their path. Despite what they did, despite what they're going through, despite what they're doing, you started leading them, and you're going to continue to lead them. Nor did your good spirit, nor did the pillar of fire by night to shine on the way they were to take. You gave your good spirit to instruct them. You did not withhold manna from their mouths, and you gave them water for their thirst. For 40 years you sustained them in the desert. They lacked nothing. Their clothes did not even wear out. We see the ancestors of the Israelites, they become kind of disobedient. They become rebellious against God. And how bad did it come? It got so bad that they cast a golden image of a calf. But despite, which was a bad choice, which was a bad decision, but despite their turning their back on God and choosing evil and making themselves a god of gold, God was still gracious and compassionate. He was slow to anger, and He was abounding in love for His people. And He continued to guide them, He continued to instruct them, and He continued to provide for them. Despite Israel's sins or mistakes, bad decisions, or mess-ups, God continued to be patient. He continued to be gracious. He continued to be merciful. And I've been God, and they had done that to me. I said, fine, find your own way. It's not what He chose to do. What is it that we're hanging on to today? What is it? Can you name your chains? Can you name it? Can you give it a name? What is your chain? What is the name of the wall that you're standing behind? What is the ball that you're carrying? What is the burden that you're bearing? What is the name of it? What is it that has you imprisoned? What are you holding on to today? Is it the grief over a marriage? Maybe you're, like I said, you feel bad because you feel like you wasn't the parent you needed to be. Maybe it was something deeper than that. Maybe you're struggling with something that happened in your childhood. Maybe that's one of the walls you have. Maybe that's why you're not free. Because you're struggling with something that happened in your childhood. And there's guilt, or there's hate, or there's bitterness, or whatever that's entangled you. Maybe it's something. Maybe you cheated, you got away with it. And that's just something you just, man, I ain't free, because I have to deal with that all the time. Maybe someone else got blamed for something you did at work, and maybe lost. And I had a story. And I'll tell you, I struggle with guilt sometimes. Worry. guess shouldn't be telling you that, but I do. I had someone call in this week, left a message on the answering machine. They left a message and they said they needed help. The first message was the second message was more, I needed help. Well, I didn't get the message until like after they called twice, and the next day I listened to it. So it was like the next day before I returned the call. Well, I got a hold of them, and I was asking them how they were doing, and what they were needing, and if they'd ever found any help. I said, "Did you get help?" He didn't know. I said, "Is everything okay?" He said, "No." He said, "Well," I kind of went on. So what was you kind of needing? I said, "Well, I was needing some money for gas." And I said, "Well, man, I'm sorry. Can I still help you? You still help?" I said, "No, I lost my job. I don't need to go. I need to go to work today." Talk about a guilty feeling. Talk about a terrible feeling. I failed. I made a mistake. I messed up. And it cost somebody their job. And I've been carrying that all week. Maybe you've just wandered too far from the Lord. You just need to come back. It's kind of like if you're a child and you misbehaved, you did something horrible, and you wouldn't, God wouldn't, if you were the parent, you wouldn't throw up your hands and say, "Well, you've messed up 15 times and you've done that, and I can't keep forgiving you, and off to the orphanage you go, and you're just too bad to be my child, or you're just too bad to be in my family." And that seems to be like a little bit of an exaggeration, but you'd be surprised how many people are still walking around in prison within that type of mindset. A mindset that makes them think that they have been too bad, or that they have gone too far, or they have stepped over the line of decency, or have become such a failure that somehow they're now too bad for God and yet too good for Satan. In Nehemiah we read that you are a forgiving God, a gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in love, therefore you did not desert me. There's nothing too bad, too evil, too sinister, too broken, too bruised, too demolished to be fixed by our God and to be forgiven. He has not deserted you, or He has not taken His hand of mercy off you. If you are tired of walking that same old road, He offers you freedom. He offers you liberty. Why do we live a life in chains when He has given us the key? Why do we choose to live a life in chains when we've been given the combination? There's freedom. Why are we bound when we don't have to be? I mean, we're celebrating as a nation our freedom. But ask yourself this question: are you truly free? Has anger and bitterness been chained? Has guilt been a chain? Has family been a burden? Why do we choose to live? And honestly, I don't know. I don't know why I choose it. Why do I choose it? I wish I knew. And I thank God for our national liberty. But He's given me personal liberty. He's given me liberty from that bondage. He don't want me to live in bondage. That's why He died. He don't want me to live in guilt. He don't want me to carry those burdens. He says, "Give me your burdens." He says, "I'll carry them for you." celebrate by living like it? Why don't we celebrate the life that Christ intended us to live? Why don't we celebrate that freedom? Why don't we celebrate that liberty? Why don't we ever hear about that? I know, as we're sitting here, and it may not come to fruition, but we're going to take the Lord's Supper. I'm going to have the guys come up and I'm going to hand the Lord's Supper out. And as we do that, we're going to play the song, Chainbreaker. I don't know, and there may not be anybody here, but I suspect that there may be somebody that is tired of walking that same old road. Just sick and tired of being sick and tired of dealing with the same old stuff. And it may be, you may be somebody who's got to the point that you just feel like, well, I deserve this. I deserve to be burdened. I deserve to struggle. Well, as they hand this out, or they pass this out, I'm going to have them play. If somebody would like prayer